Stand by. Here we go, folks. Just hang with us here a second. We will be going live. Hey everyone, and happy Wednesday. Here we are, Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, and the master himself is over here, Chris King. Chris, good night last night, except for the Buckeye State. They did you in, my friend.
Yeah, well, what else to do? Apparently we've learned that you shouldn't deal with teams from Ohio because all they do is screw up and lose. We saw Cincinnati do it over the weekend. Yesterday, Ohio forgot that they were playing Bowling Green because everybody knows Bowling Green has been a lousy basketball team all season long. Apparently, Ohio didn't get the memo.
They missed
somebody needs to talk to Frank Solich over there and
get him back on track.
Yeah, get him doing something where they actually, pay attention to these things, because it was a disappointing showing, to say the least, for the Bobcats. And, they lost ground in the race for the MAC title by losing that game because Toledo went on to beat Buffalo rather handily, thanks to a hot shooting night. But to lose to a team in Bowling Green that had lost or dismissed two of their top three players, and who, just lost at home to Western Michigan, is galling. I mean, they were down 13 points with under 7 minutes to go. I mean, sure, they got them down to 3 at the end, but they shot 34% from the field. They let Bowling Green shoot 50%, and if you let a team like Bowling Green shoot 50% from the floor, and, you send them to the foul line 29 times, so big deal. You force 16 turnovers. It doesn't matter if you're not playing defense the rest of the time. They gave up a lot of open looks in that game. I mean, nobody expected Bowling Green to have 4 of their 5 starters in double figures.
No, and, for those of you who had the good sense to listen to my situation with regard to USC and Arizona, I only missed by 18 points. So, other than that, I was right on the point. Arizona just took them to the woodshed last night. I didn't see that coming, and, good on them.
Well, I mean, and to your point before when we talked about Phil Martelli, look at Michigan now. Michigan, they whipped Michigan State last night.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're 2-1 since Juwan Howard was suspended because they lost to Illinois on Sunday. Right. But nobody's going to fault you for losing to a pretty good Illinois team. Now that you've got Iowa coming up tomorrow at home, and then you've got to go to Ohio State to close the regular season. If Michigan goes 4-1 in that stretch to get to 18-12 going into the Big Ten tournament, will Michigan reevaluate whether they want to bring Juwan Howard back at all?
Well, there's two ways, right? They can bring Juwan Howard back, but what that does is that gives Phil Martelli the opportunity to have been seen by a number of schools who may say, you know what, he's getting it done as the assistant at Michigan. Let's ring him up and bring him back and give him his own job as head coach. So it can work either way. Even if they bring Juwan back, Phil can still, end up getting something out of this. This is why when coaches, be they, someone gets sick, we've had the COVID situation where they've been, out because of, they tested positive for COVID and were not able to participate, or for whatever reason you don't make it to the dance, then it's that assistant coach that gets the opportunity to shine. But we'll see. We'll see how they handle Juwan. I don't think that they're going to get rid of Juwan, but we'll see. He's a Michigan man. Phil Martelli isn't. So we shall see. Hey, before we get started, let's talk about the opportunity, which is really cool, for those of you who are NBA fans. We have an NBA promotion going. First-time users of the BetMGM app deposit and place a bet of $10 on any NBA game, and you get $200 if either team hits a three-point play. Okay? That's pretty easy, folks. That's, a wonderful opportunity because most of the NBA teams jack up a lot of threes. So all you have to do is take advantage of it by being a first-time user of a BetMGM app and put that $10 in, and they'll give you $200 if one of the teams in the NBA game hits a three. Okay, you have to be 21 to participate, and as we always say, always bet responsibly. Well,
speaking of responsibly, it looks like Sly had a good night. He stayed away from Dayton Richmond.
We told him
but
to.
He took the under, and it was under. It was 55-53.
That's way under.
Dayton won on a dunk with 1.2 seconds left in that game. He took Providence Villanova over. That game was 76-74.
Mm-hmm.
They took the Zips. I forgot who the Zips played, which means it probably was somebody that wasn't very good.
Toledo, I think.
No, did they play Toledo?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. Akron played.
Let me see. Akron played Ball State. That's right.
Oh, Ball State.
They rolled Ball State by 19.
Okay.
And he also said he took Tampa Bay, and of course the Lightning, they started slow in that game yesterday, but ended up putting it away 5-2 over the Senators. Of course, the Oilers beat the Flyers, so that was a plus as well. The thing about the Providence Villanova game, when I looked at it yesterday, is I knew that everybody was on Villanova because they beat Providence in Providence, and Providence had nothing to play for. But I thought 9 points was high, and I think it got to 9.5 at one point. I was backing Providence in that case because I didn't think that Villanova was going to blow anybody out. I know they were up big at the half, but Providence got right back in it. It was a 2-point game when it ended. So a lot of people, though, I think just thought Villanova was going to blow them out of the gymnasium because they were up, I think, 14 to the half or something like that. But you can't count out Ed Cooley's team. They're a veteran team. They got a lot of grit, and they don't give up. And that's something that's going to be helpful down the stretch here going into the Big East tournament, and of course, beyond that with March Madness and everything else. Jay Wright's got to figure out how to get his team to close games because, like I said, they were up 14 at the half. They were still up double figures with 15 minutes to go, and then all of a sudden, here comes Providence, and it's a tight game down the stretch. And that's not what you want. You don't want to be one of those teams that blows double-digit leads. You want to be a Bucknell.
Yeah. You want somebody to go, take the foot and stomp it down. Jay, I don't think Villanova has the depth that they've had in the past. I think that's their problem, is they got 5 good players, but unless you're IUPUI, 5 good players aren't going to do you any good. You need to have depth, especially in the Big East, and he ain't got it, and Providence does.
And kudos to the Jaguars for hanging in there with their 5 guys yesterday. They shot 9 of 15 from 3-point range. Somehow they stayed in the game despite turning the ball over 20 times. But let's face it, when you play with 5 guys, and I can't say a whole lot because when you look at the box score, Oakland played basically 6 guys because they had 2 other guys that played 3 minutes. But their top 4 guys played 38, 37 minutes. It's going to make you wonder, is Oakland going to have enough gas in the Horizon League tournament to get any further, given the fact that depth seems to be a problem for them? We saw Robert Morris up at Youngstown State. So now Robert Morris will, I believe, deal with Cleveland State next, which will be interesting, I guess. Just trying to take a look at that bracket to see how ugly it looks. There we go.
Well, Cleveland State's the top seed, right?
Yeah. And since let's see, since Green Bay got knocked out, it'll be, they were the 11th seed, so it's going to be Robert Morris taking on Cleveland State tomorrow. IPFW will face, I have to look, did UIC end up winning that game yesterday? Because I admittedly didn't.
I think they did at the late in the game. I think they did.
Yeah, they ended up winning by 11. I wasn't overly excited about watching UIC play Milwaukee. So they'll end up playing IPFW.
Sounds like a union.
Yeah. Northern Kentucky will get Detroit Mercy in the second round. And Wright State will take on Oakland.
All 6 of them.
Yeah, basically. And you have to wonder, in these smaller conferences, depth is going to be an issue. Like I said, it burned IUPUI. Is it going to come back and haunt Oakland? I'm just trying to take a look at some of the minutes that these guys are logging. I know Northern Kentucky at least goes a little bit deeper than that, or at least they were. They've at least got guys that are playing decent minutes. They don't necessarily touch the ball a whole lot, but they're at least on the floor.
Right.
But 6 guys isn't going to get it done. Wright State, they tend to rely a lot on their starters. If you look, Tanner Holden and Grant Basile and Trey Calvin and Tim Finke, they all play better than 32 minutes a night. And their other starter plays, about 20, 24, 25 minutes. Are these guys going to burn themselves out just trying to get through this tournament to get a seed that nobody wants?
Well, the other part of it, to your point, is that in these tournaments, you're 24 hours away from playing. You don't have that couple days to get your legs back. And so if you play 5 guys or 6 guys, those guys go, they take a nap, they're back up the next morning, they go to shoot around, and they're back in playing that night. So it's tough in tournament play, specifically when you're talking about the small conferences, to play without having some depth. It's just as you say, you're not going to get there. And these two, we talked about Oakland. Oakland only having 6 guys that they really rely on. They can go 8 deep, but 8 deep, unless that's a quality or even semi-quality, you're just not going to make it too far.
Yeah, and the West Coast Conference, that starts tomorrow too.
Right.
You'll have Loyola Marymount facing Pacific, and San Diego facing everybody's favorite doormat this year, Pepperdine. In the opening round, those teams will then turn around and play Friday. The winner of LMU Pacific will face BYU. San Diego Pepperdine winner will face Portland. And so you got to feel good if you're one of the the top 4 seeds in that conference, because you don't have to play until Saturday.
Right.
You're going to have to face somebody that played at least once, and if somebody pulls a fluke twice, by the time they get the floor. So Santa Clara, San Francisco, they got to be feeling pretty good. And then, if you're in the case of Gonzaga or St. Mary's, you don't play until Monday. If you get a quadruple bye to the semifinals,
you said
so
you're watching the game.
Yeah, you've only got to win 2 games to get to win the West Coast tournament title. While somebody like Pacific, who we know isn't going to go anywhere anyway, would have to win 5 times.
Well, I mean, they set those tournaments up that way. I mean, they don't want somebody, an 8 seed, to come all the way, out and win. So,
but I mean, we've seen it happen. We saw Syracuse do that with the Vegas. We saw Patrick Ewing's Georgetown team do it a couple years ago.
You're right. No, what I'm saying is the way it's set up from that, by getting the buys, you don't end up playing a team like that in the second or third round. You have to wait all the way to get to them this way. So it's set up. Plus, it just it's one of those things where you've got the odds are stacked against you. It's not to say you can't do it. It's the odds are set up for the odds to be stacked against you, because if you're a one-bid league, like this may very well be, you don't want Gonzaga to get whacked, because Gonzaga will go into the tournament regardless.
Yeah, I don't think the West Coast is going to be a one-bid league this year. I
No, St. Mary's and San Francisco's played well. I mean,
and even Santa Clara. I mean, I don't think Santa Clara necessarily will get an at-large bid. I mean, they're 20-10, but I mean, they've got 5 teams there that have at least 20 wins. You know, those two, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, Santa Clara, San Francisco, and BYU. They're billing basically if BYU gets past, you know, whoever they end up with, who wins out of the Pacific LMU game, which I'm guessing is probably going to be Loyola Marymount.
Right.
And then BYU would play San Francisco in the quarterfinals, and they're billing that one kind of like a March Madness elimination game because
it's a play-in game.
Yeah, because they don't know if they're going to get enough slots to try and fit that many teams in.
Right. Well,
I mean, St. Mary's is probably going to get in. I mean, they've got a pretty good.
They got that quality win the other day against Gonzaga, so that.
Yeah, and they beat Oregon back in November. They beat Notre Dame in November. They lost to Wisconsin by 6. They beat Utah State. They beat Yale. They beat Missouri State, who's a good team in the MVC. So I mean, they've got a good record. Randy Bennett, they're rated 17th in the Ken Pom rankings, and I think they're in the top 25 overall anyway. The AP poll. So I can't see them getting overlooked. Is St. Mary's Final Four material?
I don't
That's
think
a tough
so.
one, John.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I watched them play the other night against Gonzaga. They played really well.
They're a veteran-laden team, I will tell you that. They've got, I think 4 of their 5 starters are seniors. Dan Fotu, Logan Johnson, Tommy Coos, who looks like he's about, 65. He's got the Hulk Hogan bold spot going.
Right.
Matthias Tass is good. Alex Dukas is a junior. I don't know if they can go that far. I guess it'll depend on where they get slotted in the field and how they draw. I mean, they're good defensively, but they play at a very slow tempo. If I'm St. Mary's, I don't want to run into a team like Auburn or something like that will run and gun and try and drill you into the ground.
Well, they're also not going to. Let's see. If they don't win the tournament, let's say Gonzaga wins that tournament.
Okay.
You're not. Are they going to get anything less than a double-digit seed?
I'm going to see what Lenardi says for bracketology, just out of curiosity, where he's got.
What Joe's got him.
Yeah, I want to see where he's got St. Mary's marked at the moment. Let's see. Lenardi says St. Mary's is going to come in slotted, and he's got him slotted as a 6.
Oof. Okay. How about
He's
that?
got him as a 6 in the South region, playing the winner of Memphis and Indiana in the ever-popular first 4 battle of 11 seeds.
Okay.
Which will be interesting. I don't know if I would have slotted him that high, but I mean, he's got Davidson coming out of the A10 as a 10 seed. He's got San Francisco as a 10. Gonzaga, of course, sitting on the 1 line. And he's got BYU among the first 4 out, along with Loyola, Chicago, Oregon, and SMU.
Interesting. If only Joe were right. Let's see.
But by the same token, he's got Colgate as a 15. And I mean, we've seen Colgate play some pretty good basketball.
Yeah, they're probably a 12, maybe a 10.
Yeah, I mean, I can see
they're not a 15.
I can see it being a 12 or a 13. I mean, they've got North Texas on the 12 line, Iona's on the 12 line, and let me tell you, Pitino's team is not somebody you want to face in a 5-12 matchup.
Nope, those are usually the ones that stick in everybody's mind, and not for a good reason.
They've got South Dakota State on the 12 line, and if that holds up, talk about a clash of styles. If Lenardi's bracket actually panned out, he would have South Dakota State on the 12 line in the West region facing Houston.
Oof.
Now, you're talking about a team in South Dakota State that loves to run and pile up points by the truckload, and then you've got Houston, a team that would rather just suffocate you to death and win, in the days of when Dean Smith ran the 4 corners for 25 minutes at a time.
11 to 9.
Win 11 to 10 or 54-53 in quadruple overtime.
Right.
So that would be an interesting clash of styles for certain.
That's for sure. Let's go to the big board. Davidson and George Mason, the Pats.
Yeah,
that's a big line, 325.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised it's that high too. I mean, the game is at Davidson, but the funny thing about the money line is they drive those numbers so ridiculously. I mean, we saw it yesterday when we talked about the IUPUI game where I put $8 million because the numbers were so bad. And that's why when we get to the shot in the dark, there's a bunch of games that I have that are down there where if people didn't care about the money line, they'd be up at the top of the screen. But nobody wants to drop four figures on a money line, especially in the NBA. But in this case, yeah, George Mason 14-13. They're 7-7 in the conference. They're 4-7 on the road. Davidson 24-4. They're 14-2 in the A10. They have a good record at home. They are 12-1. Davidson 60th in scoring offense at 75.9 points a game. They shoot the ball well, 48.2% from the field, 55.2% from inside the arc. They're 10th in the country in three-point shooting, 38.5%. They're 38th at the free throw line. And we can't stress that enough. As we roll into conference tournaments, as we roll into March Madness, if you don't knock down free throws and you let somebody hang in the game, sooner or later it's going to bite you and you're going to end up going home earlier than you expected. It happens every year. It always seems to happen to somebody like Purdue. We saw it happen to Purdue last year against North Texas. It could happen again. George Mason, 169th in scoring offense, 112th in field goal percentage. They shoot decent inside the arc. They shoot a lot of threes as well. They shoot well out there, but they're terrible at the free throw line. 248 and 69.5%. And it's tough to go into Davidson and win. I mean, let's not understate that at all. Or as Gordon Ramsay would say, let's get that right. George Mason 1-3-1 against the spread in their last 5 overall. Davidson 5-0 in their last 5 after winning by at least 20 points. They're 10-3 after an ATS win. They're 10-4 in their last 14 after allowing less than 50 points in their last game. They're rolling in off an impressive dismantling of everybody's favorite team, Fordham, 66-45 on Saturday. Of course, we talked about Fordham the other day when they beat UMass. Speaking of UMass, Matt McCall has now been fired after 5 years of bad basketball up there in Amherst. Maybe they should just go hire Dr. J. He can return to his alma mater.
Right, that wouldn't be... I think he still has 2 years of eligibility.
Well, there you go. They can get him to suit up. He's probably better than half the guys they got on their roster.
At this point, yeah.
But, I think Davidson will take care of business here.
Yeah, Davidson has always played. You had mentioned their non-conference schedule. I remember doing a game, Davidson and Notre Dame at, in South Bend. And, it was that was during the Digger Phelps era. And Davidson, they always played. There were a lot of teams that didn't mind playing them until they realized that, hey, wait a minute, these guys can beat us. Then all of a sudden they're like, maybe not so much. But yeah, Davidson has always played a very competitive non-conference schedule, and it's helped them over the years.
Yeah, I mean they beat Alabama on the road earlier this season. They also have wins over Penn. They beat Delaware. They beat, of course, Robert Morris, but who doesn't?
Right.
Though Youngstown beat him yesterday, but
Yeah.
And John says Cleveland State is a dark horse. John, I will say this. Don't ever say the words Cleveland State and dark horse in the presence of Robert Montgomery Knight, or he'll probably throw a chair at you.
Fortunately, he's older, so he might miss you.
Anybody that watched college basketball in the 80s or who is a fan and has done the research knows what I'm talking about, Jim. I'm sure you were probably there.
Yeah. I had them... I didn't have them against Indiana, but I did have them against Navy when David Robinson was on that team. So, in the tournament.
That was the 86 tournament when Cleveland State was a 14 seed and beat Bobby Knight's number 3 seed led by Steve Alford, Ricky Callaway, beat them 83-79 behind 27 points from everybody's favorite well-known basketball player from Cleveland State, Clinton Ramsey.
You know, that kid could play. I mean, he...
Yeah, but I mean, nobody knows who he is.
Oh, no,
I mean,
nobody knows. Not unless you were inside college basketball or happen to be a fan of Cleveland State. Yeah, I mean, they had some good teams at that point, and I'm glad to see that they're back.
That Cleveland State team then went on to beat St. Joe's in the second round.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A St. Joe's team that had Bruiser Flint.
Yep.
Everybody remembers him, of course, from his time at UMass and things like that. And then Cleveland State, like Jim said, in the Sweet 16, was upended 71-70 by Navy. They nearly rallied from a 9-point deficit at halftime, only to fall by 1 point. Like Jim said, David Robinson, 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 9 blocks for the midshipmen in that game to lead the way for Navy.
I'll tell you what, David Robinson in that game looked like Wilt Chamberlain in the 60s. I mean, he was banging everything away. It was like, Cleveland State couldn't drive inside because anytime they put up a shot, David Robinson was slapping it back in their face. So it was a good game. And, getting to the Sweet 16, not a bad thing for Cleveland State. And hopefully, for Cleveland State fans and our buddy there that, who was it, John had asked about it? Who was?
Yeah, he has Cleveland State as a dark horse.
Well, you know what, John? You might be right. Who knows? We'll find out soon enough. All right, from David.
Do you remember who knocked David Robinson out of that tournament?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
It was Mike Krzyzewski.
Oh, well. The Duke Blue Devils.
Yep, Duke won 71-50. Robinson accounted for nearly half of their points as he had 23 points and 10 rebounds.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
Johnny Dawkins went off for 28 for Duke. Of course, now he's at UCF.
Right.
He shot the ball 25 times.
That's a lot of shots for a Duke team.
Now, think about this. Just to give you an idea of who played on that Duke team, there's a lot of familiar names. Johnny Dawkins, Tommy Amaker was there. Jay Billis, who everybody gets to see on ESPN with the Billustrator.
Right.
Danny Ferry came off the bench. He scored 2.
There you go.
And Billy King, who, of course, I don't think he went on to play
no, but he was a good college basketball player.
Yeah, and Mark O'Leary was also there.
Huh, how about that?
But yeah, just a little backstory about Cleveland State, as they try to come out of the Horizon League this season.
By the way, there wasn't a Horizon League at that point.
Yeah, what the hell league were they in?
They were in the same league with Missouri Valley. I'm sorry, yes, it was Southwest Missouri. Because they were battling Southwest Missouri for that league title.
Oh, right, the Mid-Con. I forgot about that as a conference.
Yep. So they were there, and somehow, I know one game we played, we did, I was in St. Louis the day before on a Sunday doing a hockey game. And then Monday night was supposed to be Cleveland State and Southwest Missouri. And there was a terrible ice storm in St. Louis, and we got there about 2 hours ahead of the of game time. And that place was packed. It was to the rafters. They, Southwest Missouri was quite a team back in the day.
Yeah, and you look at Cleveland State. They won the conference. They won the regular season. Mm-hmm. They won the conference tournament. They beat Eastern Illinois in the conference tournament final. An Eastern Illinois team led by another familiar name, Kevin Duckworth.
Yeah, how about that? Some names of the past. All right, brother.
As we bring you stuff from yesteryear.
Yeah, but history's important. You ought to know where these teams came from. So
yeah, because don't don't forget history lest you end up repeating it.
This indeed is true. Davidson, George Mason, and onward, sir, to where?
We're going to go to the
Back
Silver
to
State.
our boys.
I'm back with Wyoming.
Put on your hat.
I'm not going to take anything away from UNLV. They've played some good basketball this season. They've probably exceeded expectations.
That's Allie's team.
Yeah, let's give Kevin Kruger a lot of credit. He's done something that, Lon Kruger didn't necessarily might not have been able to pull off. TJ Otzenberger did not pull it off, or Otzelberger did not pull it off.
Not even close.
Nope. But, let's be honest. We're also looking at a UNLV team that's coming off a 10-point home loss to Boise State. They faced New Mexico Saturday in the regular season finale. Wyoming took everything that San Diego State could throw at them the other day. Like we talked about yesterday, if you had told me before the game that San Diego State would shoot 12 of 22 from three-point range and 12 of 36 from two-point range, I would tell you were on drugs. UNLV is good defensively, but they're facing a Wyoming team that has a ton of offensive weapons. I don't think that the Cowboys will be phased by going into the Thomas and Mack Center. And as good as UNLV is defensively, they're not at the caliber of what
Wyoming.
What San Diego State brings to the floor defensively. Because Brian Dutcher's team, it's just like a continuation of what Steve Fisher did, where they'll take the air out of the ball. I think Ike and Maldonado will have better showings than we saw the other day. Maldonado, even though they lost, had a triple-double in that game against San Diego State. And if you look at the numbers here, Wyoming's better offensively. They shoot the ball a lot better than UNLV does. UNLV is just 239th in field goal percentage. They're 219th inside the arc. They have an edge to the free throw line, but it's not by much. Wyoming is 23-5 in their last 28 as a road underdog. They're 4-1-1 in their last 6 against teams with a winning record. They're 24-8 in their last 32 as an underdog, and UNLV is 1-5-1 against the spread in their last 7 after a double-digit loss at home. Speaking of their loss to Boise State, they sputtered for a while last night before finally putting away Steve Alford's boys from Nevada up there in Boise yesterday. So maybe they had a bit of a hangover after beating UNLV. Yeah,
the Boise
boys. Hopefully Boise straightens it out, because Saturday they face Colorado State.
Well, they better figure it out quick.
Yeah, because that's not a team you want to have a hangover against.
No, that Mountain West tournament's going to be fun.
It is, because like we said, if you look at it right now, Boise State's 15-2, Colorado State's 13-4, Wyoming's 12-4, San Diego State's 11-4, and UNLV's got a winning record. Plus Fresno State is bounced back. They're 8-7 in the conference now. So you've got 5-6 good teams there. Any one of those, and you can even throw Utah State in the mix as a team that can surprise somebody come tournament time. So you've got possibly 7 of the 11 teams that have a valid shot at saying that we're going to go to March Madness because we're winning the conference title. I think you can write off Nevada at this point. New Mexico, the tournament's not in the pit, so they're out.
Right.
Air Force, they don't score any points. And San Jose State is terrible.
Yeah, but the rest of the teams, there are not that much difference, as you said, between the top 5 or 6 teams there. There's very little difference. Any one of them could end up.
That's what's going to make it exciting. It's going to make it tough to handicap, but it's going to make it exciting.
Yeah, it'll make it a lot of fun. All right, well, let's go to the ice and see what's going on over there. We got some stuff going on in the
light slate on the ice today. There's only 4 games. A lot of them are kind of one-sided, but that's okay.
This being one of them.
This is actually not the worst of them.
Oh, okay.
The worst of them shows up later, but Nashville is on the road to face Seattle. The Predators have slumped lately. They've lost, I think, 5 of their last 6, but they get to face a Seattle team that is not playing well at all, obviously. They'll be sellers at the deadline, trying to ship off some of their veterans to recoup draft picks and get themselves a chance to add some more young talent. I mean, UC Saros 25-16 and 3 of the 246 goals against, 923 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. And then for Nashville, Seattle, of course, counters with everybody's favorite Swiss cheese goaltender, Philippe Grubauer, 12, 23, and 5 with a 317 goals against, an 888 save percentage, one shutout. Nashville 15th in goals for, they're 11th in goals against. Seattle near the bottom in both categories. They're 28th in goals for, 26th in goals against at 3.55 this year. Nashville 4-1 in their last 5 as a road favorite. They are 38-13 in their last 51 against teams with a losing record. And those last 3 numbers are just putrid if you are a fan of
the Kraken.
1-12 in their last 13 against teams from the Central Division. 1-10 in their last 11 as a home underdog, and 0-5 in their last 5 against teams with a winning record. You just can't have any faith in Seattle here.
Who on Seattle's team would bring you multiple draft choices?
Let me take a look and see if they have anybody worth. I don't know about multiple picks, but I mean you could at least get some picks, and if you deal off enough guys, you'll get multiple picks.
Yeah, but
Jared McCann has been pretty good. I mean, I know Toronto had him; they left him exposed in the expansion draft. Of course, now he's on IR, so never mind. Jaden Schwartz is on IR too. Just taking a look at who they have that might be worth anything. Let's see. I guess if somebody was desperate enough to take a flyer on Jordan Eberle, because he was highly touted a few years ago. I'm sure John remembers his time with the Islanders after he came over from Edmonton. He could be a valuable guy. I'm not sure if anybody would reach out and take him at age 31. He'll be 32 in May. Other than that, I mean, there's always need for defensemen. The question is, would somebody like Mark Giordano waive his no-trade clause? Obviously, he spent an eternity with Calgary, and he's definitely at the tail end of his career at 38. But, I mean, he would definitely help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I mean...
Well, they're an expansion team, so, I mean, you're not going to...
Yeah, you're not going to get the... nobody's going to go out there and trade Austin Matthews or something like that. Or, you know, an Ovechkin or, you know, guys of that ilk that are going to light the lamp seemingly at will.
Well, you know, Seattle, hang in there. Not everybody can be Las Vegas.
That's true. But do you blame Ron Francis? That was poor...
he wasn't George McPhee.
Roster, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So there you go, boys and girls. All right, let's move on from Nashville and Seattle, where we know the Kraken.
Move down to Dallas.
Going to Big D.
Yeah, we talked about how the Kings had been on a roll, and then they promptly went out and got absolutely waxed the other night by the Bruins, falling by the close score of 7-0. They were right in it, and then they dropped the opening
lost by a touchdown.
Yeah, they were driving in as time expired, but you know
they got lost in the red zone.
Score on the board. The Kings are 29-18-7. The Stars are 29-20 and 3 million. No, they're 29-20 and 3. There's 19-7 and 1 at home. The Kings are undecided whether they're going to go with Quick, who's 14-11-6 and with 267 goals against, a 909 save percentage and 2 shutouts, or Cal Peterson, who's 14-7-1. Either way, it's going to be Jake Ottinger, 17-6-1 with a 225 goals against, a 923 save percentage and 1 shutout for the Stars. And I'll tell you what, Ottinger has done a good job. If who's the coach in Dallas now? Because I don't even pay attention to the Stars all that much unless I have to.
I have no idea anymore.
I know Jim Neal is their GM still because they haven't fired him. I'm just going to look. Oh, Rick Bowness. God, I remember when he coached Ottawa back when they came into the league and they were terrible. Yeah. But Bowness, if he's smart, and he doesn't pull a Boudreaux and decide to stick his overpaid backup veteran goaltender who's worse than his starter into the game, they'll be in good shape. Ottinger has definitely stabilized the net for Dallas, much like Thatcher Demko has done in Vancouver, but yet we saw Boudreaux start Yaroslav Halak the other day, and that was
unwise.
very unwise. Like Sly said, Rick bonus. And Sly, good on you guys. Good on the Jets yesterday, beating Montreal in another low-scoring game, 8-4.
Well, I was going to say, that was wild.
Yeah,
looked like a baseball score.
It was good for Winnipeg to get back in the win column. I know they've had their struggles of late. Good to see Montreal come back to earth a little bit, even though I thought that they would keep their momentum going. The Kings 18th in goals for. They're 9th in goals against. The Stars 22nd in goals for and 15th in goals against. But when it comes down to it, the Stars play well at home. They average 3.41 goals a game compared to their 2.24 on the road. The Kings average only 2.85 goals a game on the road this season. The Kings are 2-6 in their last 8 against teams with a winning record. They're 1-4 in their last 5. 1 day of rest. Dallas 4-1 in their last 5 with 2 days off. They're 18-6 in their last 24 as a home favorite. And the Kings have dropped 6 of the last 8 meetings between these teams. I'm going to go with Dallas at home. Sly, let me ask you a question. Did anybody go after Scheifele for that hit that you were talking about in the playoffs? Or did he manage to emerge unscathed? As Sly said, there was 14 penalties, 12 goals, a fight, lots of drama. So I'm guessing that somebody must have gone after Scheifele. I didn't watch the game because I was watching part of the Edmonton game just because I want to see if Philadelphia would come back to earth. So I'll be interested to see what Sly had to say about that one.
Yeah. Wild game. All right, let's go from Dallas and Los Angeles over to
the NBA.
The Hardwood, the association. And speaking of Philadelphia, the other Philadelphia, and the Sixers.
You want to get the NBA promo in again?
Yeah, sure, why not? Let's, our friends at BetMGM has a good deal for you, and that's take advantage of their BetMGM NBA promotion. First-time users of the BetMGM app. Deposit and place a bet of $10 on any NBA game and get $200 if either team hits a three-pointer. Okay. Now, all the information on how to get involved with that is in our show box below. And as we said before, you must be 21 years of age to play and always bet responsibly. All right. And
James, what North Carolina line are you talking about? Are we talking about? They released an early line on North Carolina Duke for Sunday already? Or Saturday, I should say? Or which line are we talking about in regards to that? I haven't looked ahead to Saturday yet, with it only being Wednesday, but always interesting to see what comes up for that. It was disappointing to see the early line only has Duke favored by 3.5. That surprise you at all, Jim?
Yeah, it's.
I mean, it's at Cameron Indoor.
It's Cameron. It's Carolina. It's. I'm guessing that's going to go up a bit, but I don't know how much. It's not going to go up much.
You don't think so? Because they lost by 20 at Chapel Hill last week.
Yeah, but line movement. Do you think the line's going to go up like to 5 or 6?
It's hard to say. I mean. Like I said, I'm surprised it's only 3.5 right now.
I don't.
I figured it would have been. I figured they would have started at 5 or 6.
Yeah, it might be because of the pressure is on Duke to win at home which would in essence be Krzyzewski's last home game.
Apparently, CBS Sports is behind the times because James said it was at 9. It's already at 11.
Oh, well, that sounds more.
Sorry, he was talking about UNC Asheville.
Oh.
There's a difference.
Yeah, they're not playing Duke. That's the first thing.
No, UNC Asheville is playing, let's see. They are playing, that's about 45 minutes from me. They're playing Charleston Southern in the Big South. Charleston Southern, well, they're not a good team. They lost to Asheville by 19 at home. They lost by 23 on the road. So, I mean, at least they were consistent. They lost badly.
Yeah.
Of course, Charleston Southern also lost holy crap, they got lit up by 3 non-D1 teams. Oh, no, sorry, those are the teams they beat were 3 non. So they beat 2 teams from D1 and 3 from non-D1, so they're 5-24. I'm surprised that the line was only 9 to start with.
Yeah.
But back to the NBA, since now we were just talking about how bad that was. The 76ers should beat up on the Knicks. Everybody knows the Knicks have really fallen apart. They won't have Kemba Walker because they told him to go home. Mm-hmm. And he'll still get paid, so, I mean, that's a good job if you can get it. Just ask John Wall.
That's right.
Also, Derrick Rose is still out. He's supposed to be out until mid-March at least. So that's going to be another blow for them. Meanwhile, we've seen Philadelphia play good basketball the last couple of games since James Harden took the floor. They blew out Minnesota by, 31 points.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Knicks by 16 the other day at Madison Square Garden in a game where Joel Embiid shot 27 free throws. Harden had 29 points, 10 rebounds, 16 assists, and 5 steals in that one. Embiid finished with 37. What can you say about the Knicks? I mean, they've got R.J. Barrett. Julius Randle shot 4 of 13 from the field. He was 7 of 12 at the line. I mean, the Knicks, they're a disjointed team right now.
Is there anybody out there that can name the Knicks starting 5?
Looking at it, I would have been hard-pressed to name the Knicks starting 5, considering I'm looking at it, and there's basically only 3 guys that I would consider guys that should be starting in the league.
Right.
And one of those is even questionable.
There you go.
Alec Burks, I remember from his days when he played for Utah, and then we got rid of him, and then he went somewhere else and did nothing. And, now he's with the Knicks.
Doing nothing.
But, yeah, Mitchell Robinson fouled out the other day in 17 minutes. And then his backup, Jericho Sims, fouled out in 18 minutes. So,
wow.
That tells you something about the Knicks. I mean, Thibodeau likes to play defense. He likes to play a physical style. It's hard to have any faith.
So that's 12 fouls on your...
In 35 minutes.
Okay.
Philadelphia shot 44 free throws in the game, and Embiid had 27 of them.
Right.
But yeah, the Knicks are bad offensively. They're 27th in the league in scoring offense. They're 28th in field goal percentage. They're middle of the pack in three-point shooting. Philadelphia is only 19th, but you have to think they'll get better just because Harden can create opportunities for other guys. Mm-hmm. And then if they're not doubling him, as long as he doesn't try to jack up 50 step-back threes every game, it'll be an improvement for the 76ers. Both teams good defensively. 76ers are 7th in scoring defense. The Knicks are 8th. But New York is 1-8 in their last 9 against the spread against teams with a winning record. They're 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 as an underdog. They're 0-5 in their last 5 overall. 76ers 4-1 against the spread in their last 5, and the Knicks are 3-7 against the spread in the last 10 games in Philadelphia. And Nathan answered your question about the starting 5 for the Knicks, Jim. Bad, 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 and bad.
Nathan, thank you very much for that. Very good on that aspect. It's
the correct answer was Mitchell Robinson, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Evan Fournier, and Alec Burks.
There you go. You know what Harden has done? He's opened the court for Joellen to drive, which is why Joellen is at the free throw line every 5 minutes or less. And that's been a bit of a winning combination for the Sixers after the trade.
My question is it going to continue to minimize Tobias Harris? Because Harris has been a decent secondary scoring option, but he only got 9 shots the other day in 35 minutes. Meanwhile, Embiid had 18, Harden had 14, and Tyrese Maxey had 14. I mean, you can't just negate Harris's ability to be useful on the floor.
No.
Because these guys want to shoot the ball. And like I said, Embiid shot 27 free throws, Harden shot 10. The rest of the team shot 7.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just... they'll figure out a way to get him in the offense. They have to, because you have to have that, they've got secondary. You got to have third and fourth options. It's like when Steve Kerr played on the Bulls, right? With Michael Jordan and everybody else. he wasn't your first or second option, but he wasn't a bad third option.
Right. Oh, and James, the reason why that game was pushed back in the Big South was because North Carolina A&T and Radford went to overtime. North Carolina A&T won 78-71. So, they always wait 30 minutes or whatever after the last game completed. So that's why it was pushed back some. And looking now, it looks from where I'm looking, that line for UNC Asheville is now 10.5. So it bounced back down a little bit. But either way, I mean, UNC Asheville should take care of business against Charleston Southern, I would think, rather easily. Just looking at how bad Charleston Southern was. They're 4-9 at home. They're 1-15 everywhere else.
There you go. All right. From the city of brotherly love, we're going out west.
No, we're going to Cleveland.
Going to Cleveland. Well, to a little bit out west.
Now, keep an eye on this line, because if you're going to back Cleveland, you want to probably do it sooner rather than later. Darius Garland did take part in the afternoon shoot-around and things like that for Cleveland. He's missed the last couple games with a back issue that apparently he's going to have to manage for the rest of the season. Should they officially announce that he's going to play, and they're leaning towards him playing as of right now, you have to think that this line is going to shift rather dramatically, because obviously Garland is one of their best players. He's obviously the guy that has the keys to the offense, and obviously that's going to help Cleveland, because otherwise they're back to playing a bunch of scrubs at point guard. Meanwhile, Charlotte won't have Gordon Hayward still. James Bouknight is also out. Jalen McDaniels is doubtful. Nick Richards is questionable, and I don't think Isaiah Thomas is going to suit up yet. I haven't seen anything about him stepping on the floor yet. Something I saw about him having to deal with COVID protocols or something, but that could change. But either way, I don't think he's going to make a massive difference in this game, especially after watching him play in the G League, where it looked like he was just trying to shoot the ball on every possession. So basically, Isaiah Thomas, period. Charlotte is first in scoring offense, but they're going to face the number one scoring defense. Now, Jim, would you rather be the team with the number one scoring offense and no defense, which is Charlotte, or would you rather be the team with limited offense and a number one scoring defense?
I think I'd rather be the team with the best scoring offense.
Even though you have no defense?
Yeah, because if you've got the number one scoring offense, then even if you're middle of the pack in defense, you got to score points to win.
But Charlotte is 28th.
In what?
Scoring defense.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at it. I don't know. I still like the offense.
Well, let's ask you guys. Would you rather have a team that's mediocre on offense and a good defense, or would you rather be a team like Charlotte that can score and can't stop anybody? Because in this one, I don't think that Charlotte... Here's the thing. What did Vince Lombardi say?
Defense, defense, defense. Defense wins championships. In theory, I know that. But I'm just... The Cavs...
From an entertainment standpoint, sure, it'd be great to have a Charlotte team that can score and not screw up anybody. I mean, that's Paul Westhead basketball.
Right. But the Cavaliers can score points and play defense.
Right, but they're only 26th in scoring offense.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't know. Okay, you've won me over to the other side. I'll take the defense.
I just think that, you can have a bad offense, but if you're playing a team that has a bad defense, it makes your offense better.
True.
Whereas if you have a bad defense, or if you have a good defense, it's going to make a team with a good offense work more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying Charlotte's not going to get their points. I just don't think they're going to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look, they're 1-8-1 against the spread in their last 10 on one-day rest. They're 1-6-2 in their last 9 against teams with a winning record. And, I mean, let's face it, Charlotte, 5-6 weeks ago, everybody was on them talking about how great they were because they had that long win streak, and now they've gone right down the tubes.
That's what happens when people get on your bandwagon.
That's true.
Before we jump into the upcoming 2 for the money, 4 for the show, and the menu, let's talk about the other promotion that's going on at BetMGM. That's BetMGM is going to give new customers a risk-free bet on your first sports wager up to $1,000. Now, only players are eligible for this bonus, and it must be claimed within 7 days after you sign up. Once you create an account and make your first deposit, place any real money sports bet between $10 and $1,000, and BetMGM will match it. Now remember, you must be 21 years of age to play, and always bet responsibly. All the information, including links to all of our BetMGM promotions, are in our show box below. Also, in our show box below, you can get Chris King's best parlays bet each day. Now, every day Chris is going to send you his best parlay tickets to play, usually made up of 1 or 2 or 4 teamers, sometimes even more than that. Now, not every time are you going to win. We know that. But playing the odds, Chris keeps things very profitable. In the last 2 weeks, Chris has won 6 2-team parlays, 4 4-team parlays, 1 6-team parlay, and 2 8-team parlays. That means that if you were a bettor who put up $100, you could have cashed tickets worth about $30,000 in winnings. So take an opportunity, go to the show box, go down to the link, click on it, sign up for Chris's information. He'll give you all the inside stuff. And, we at Winners and Whiners want you to enjoy it. But as we said before, again, as always, 21 years of age to wager, and always bet responsibly. So speaking of money, let's go for 2 for the money and see what we got going on.
Money, I don't know what I'm looking at. Lenardi's bracket again. He's got Cleveland State as a 16.
That's not right. Come on, Joe.
And he's got Princeton as a 14 and Vermont as a 13.
Whoa, yeah, he's very undervaluing the mid-major conferences.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of these things, and it doesn't make sense because a lot of these mid-majors are teams that have beaten some of these teams that are seated higher than in the field.
Well, Lenardi tends to favor Big Ten teams. Where is he with them?
He's got 9 of them in the tournament.
There you go.
He's got, let's see, just scrolling down the list here, Big Ten. Michigan, he's got it as an 11. Purdue's at 2. Indiana's at 11. Rutgers is at 12. What else has he got in here? Where the heck are they? Wisconsin's a 3. Michigan State's a 7. The way Michigan State's played lately, how are they a 7?
How are they in the tournament?
Ohio State's a 6, and they sucked yesterday too. Illinois is a 4. I think Illinois is probably a little undervalued, given what we've seen. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody here, but it's not jumping out at me. So, but yeah, he's got 9 from the Big Ten, 7 from the Big East, which is pretty much everyone but Georgetown,
right? And
DePaul.
Yeah.
Oh, and maybe Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 from the Big 12, 6 from the SEC, 5 from the ACC. Are there 5 teams from the ACC worth being in the tournament?
No. There's not 7 teams. How many do you have from the SEC?
6.
Who are they? Okay, let's see. You got to have Auburn, so that's 1.
Yeah, Auburn's a 2, Kentucky's a 2.
Okay.
Bear with me, I'm trying
Alabama?
to through this. Yeah, they're here somewhere. I saw them. They're a 5.
LSU.
LSU is a 6.
Okay, there's 4. Tennessee?
Let's see, they should be on here somewhere, I'm thinking.
One of the 2 schools Bruce Pearl has coached in the SEC.
Just trying to find them out here because Tennessee's a 3.
A 3? Whoa.
That's where I got them.
Okay. And then we're missing one more.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who it might be.
Texas, no, it's not Texas A&M.
No, they fell off the cliff.
Yeah. Ooh. Arkansas.
Arkansas, where are they? Yeah, they're a 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of these got. How can you get 5 teams from the ACC?
I don't know.
You got Duke.
All right, Duke's legit.
And Duke's a 2. They got Miami at 10.
Miami's not legit.
North Carolina's a 10.
No. These are on name.
Yeah, because that means Xavier's still
so
at 9.
So what's he got, 4 from the Pac-12?
He's got 3.
All right, Arizona and the 2 LA schools, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm just trying to see who his other teams from the SEC are. The Alabama? Or no, not the ACC.
We got all the...
Yeah, I'm just looking at the ACC. Wake Forest, are they in here? Yeah, Wake Forest is at 11.
Carolina State?
No, NC State's been horrible.
Not Clemson.
No. Yeah, I take a look at the conference.
Notre Dame. Is it?
Oh yeah, well yeah, Notre Dame I can see being legit, but I can't see them. I can see Duke and Notre Dame as being in there. I don't know what North Carolina's playing well in conference play, but Miami is seeded higher than Wake Forest, and Wake Forest has got more wins. Why did say Virginia Tech is going to be in? Why not say Virginia is going to be in? Why not say Syracuse is on the bubble like you do every freaking year?
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. And I mean, to be honest, the Big 12 has legit multiple bids. They should have 5.
They've got 6 according to Lenardi.
Okay.
Iowa State's a 7.
Well, Baylor's a 2 or 1.
Baylor is a 1.
Gotta have Texas Tech, right?
Texas Tech is a 3. Texas is a 5. I think they're overvalued.
That's, yeah.
Iowa State, like I said, Iowa State's a 7.
Kansas.
Yeah, Kansas is a 1.
They got 2 wins? They got Baylor and Kansas?
Yeah, which is funny. Baylor just beat Kansas.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see how this changes as the week goes forward.
Mm-hmm.
But some of these, so many of the mid majors that we talk about, like he's got Wyoming on the 9 line.
Has he got Colorado State in there now?
Let me look. Colorado. Yeah, he's got them on an 8 line with Xavier as the 9 line underneath it. When's the last time Xavier did anything as far as putting a game in the win column? They just got dusted by Seton Hall. They've lost 6 out of 7. How is a 17 and 11 team with a 7 and 10 conference record going to be seeded higher than Colorado State?
I don't know. This is where the Power 5 conferences, exert their power and get the multiple bids, because there's no way that there's that many teams from those conferences that are deserving of it. And I know they expanded it to 68 so they quote unquote can get the other teams in, but it doesn't. The math doesn't work.
Oh, the other team from the Big 12, by the way, was TCU. They're on the 9 line.
That's true.
Too.
They're not a bad team either. All right, let's go for 2 for the money. See what's up on there.
Alrighty. Give me a second here to close that. Go over here. Yeah, we talked about Philadelphia and the Knicks. I'm not going to beat the Knicks into the ground any more than Tom Thibodeau already has.
Okay.
We're going to go with 76ers there. And I like Wyoming over UNLV. I mean, I know Wyoming didn't come up with the win the other day at the Dome of Doom, but I think that's going to refocus them. I think they closed their year with, Fresno State?
Right.
Is that who it is? So, obviously Wyoming wants to hang on and maintain one of those top seeds in the conference. They're still second. They want to make sure they stay up there with Colorado State and all that. Avoid some of the unfavorable matchups that could come out early on. Then Nashville and Dallas in the NHL. I just think both those teams, Dallas especially at home, is dangerous. Seattle is just bad.
There you go. All right, let's move in up to 4 for the show. Whoops.
And David said David's not a fan of Lenardi. He said he's a joke and always has been.
David the Italian. David, Joe's not. Seth Davis at CBS normally is better than Joe, so we'll see. If you want to follow somebody whose bracketology is usually better, the guys at CBS are usually better over the years. So, got the Bucks over the Heat.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game. The weird thing was that in the last meeting, the Bucks were favored by 6.5 points in a game where they didn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now Antetokounmpo is going to play. They're only favored by 4.5. I think that's because people are riding the fact that Miami has won 4 straight and 9 of their last 10. But, going into the Fiserv Forum is not an easy place to play for anybody. And you're talking about a Miami team that won't have Kyle Lowry. He's out again for personal reasons tonight. Of course, Markieff Morris probably won't play this season, from what I keep hearing, with the whiplash incident that happened back in November. Victor Oladipo is down in the G League trying to get ready to play. Meanwhile, for the Bucks, you won't have Pat Connaughton, who's out after finger surgery. George Hill still out, and of course, Brook Lopez has played all of one game.
We talked about Auburn, and
I think Auburn is undervalued now. Everybody's talking about how, Auburn's hit the skids, Auburn did this, Auburn did that. What they're failing to look at, sure, Auburn lost at Florida by 1. Auburn lost to Tennessee. Nobody's going to bitch that you lost to Tennessee by 5 in Knoxville. Everybody knows Rick Barnes can coach. Mississippi State, I get that they're 14-2 at home. That's great. But if you look, Mississippi State also has losses to South Carolina. They lost to Minnesota. They lost to Louisville. And everybody knows Louisville has not been good. They lost to Ole Miss, who has not been good at all. They lost to Florida. They were thumped by Texas Tech. They're a 17-12 team. Sure, you're at home, but you can't shoot threes to save your life. You're going to get killed on the offensive glass. Auburn is good defensively. And here's a stat that nobody wants to see if you're facing Auburn. Auburn leads the nation in block percentage on defense, 22.3%.
That's a number that's important. Nathan says he loves those 4 picks, Chris. Meanwhile, back at the other side, he also says, great line, I could see Auburn coming out all business.
Oh, yeah, I don't think Auburn's done screwing around.
They better be.
And I think if Mississippi State's going to find out what happens when Auburn is a focused team, just like we've seen earlier this season. You look at some of the numbers that Auburn put up, and they were thrashing people. I mean, they hung 100 on Alabama. They beat Oklahoma by 18. They beat Kentucky. They whipped Georgia. They beat Auburn or Alabama at Tuscaloosa. They beat LSU at home. They beat Murray State. They blew out Syracuse. They beat Loyola Chicago. I mean, it's not a team that you can take lightly. And putting it at a 3 or a 3.5 point line, just because the game's in Starkville, doesn't mean that Mississippi State's going to hang around.
No, and our buddy Supersly says he's got to admit he's a little bit concerned about that Notre Dame FSU game.
I can understand that. The thing is, Leonard Hamilton's team is underachieved, and that's being generous. Just looking at their lineup, they come in, they beat Virginia by 1 the other day, but they've lost 8 of 10. And their 2 wins in that stretch are 1-point victories at home over Clemson and then up in Charlottesville over Virginia. I think that they have the ability to keep it close, but they're also dealing with injuries. They don't have Anthony Polite. He's been out for a handful of games now. They lost Malik Osborne for the year. And it's not the same kind of team that you're used to seeing when it comes to Florida State. Meanwhile, I think the biggest thing that gets overlooked with Notre Dame is the addition that they got when they got Paul Atkinson from Yale, because that gives them somebody that can score in the paint and who can make things difficult on the defensive end. You also have to take into consideration that Caleb Mills, who averages 12.7 points a game for Florida State, is doubtful again tonight with an ankle injury. He hasn't played since February 12th. So you take away Mills and you take away Polite, and you're taking 22.5 points out of their lineup. And I just don't think Hamilton, he just doesn't have the depth that we've seen Florida State have in recent years, and that's going to end up costing them.
James has a quick question. He goes, the Pacers are now at 2.5.
They're playing your good buddies, Jim, from Orlando.
That's right.
In Orlando.
They're playing the Lakeland Magic.
Yeah. Funny thing was Orlando won by 16 the other day in the first game of that surprisingly weird 2-game home series.
Right.
Which didn't make sense, but I mean, Houston just had that with the Clippers too, and it didn't make sense then either.
Right.
But, Indiana's now a 2.5-point favorite. I didn't see anything new on the injury report, but I could be wrong. Because God knows those things change every 5 seconds, where it's kind of like the weather. Just wait 5 minutes and something else will come out that you didn't know about. I'll just take a quick look and see if there's anything that we need to be worried about as far as the Orlando Magic. I mean, it was nice to see Markelle Fultz come back and play the other night. Hopefully he can get his career back on track after being derailed by injuries for so long.
Kevin thinks that that Auburn's going to take care of business, so not to worry about it.
Yeah, there's nobody. Cole Anthony is probable for Orlando. Chris Duarte and Lance Stevenson are questionable for Indiana. Everybody else you already knew wasn't going to play. So I guess there's people thinking that Orlando can't string together back-to-back wins.
So let's.
And see, Jim, this was the one-sided game I was talking about on the docket. The Leafs get to play the Sabres at the Scotiabank Arena in front of a full house. As you know, the Canadian government has opened up full capacity back at arenas starting yesterday. So it should be interesting to see the Sabres make the trip up to Toronto for the first time in going on, I think, almost 3 years now.
Yeah. And that's
I
always a good
expect
trip.
Peter Mrazek in Toronto to blow Buffalo out of the arena.
Yeah. It's always a fun trip from Buffalo going to Toronto or Toronto coming down to Buffalo. All right, let's go to the menu. We got to blow through that pretty quick. We're running. We don't want to overrun Scott and Scott, so here we go.
Seton Hall. I know Nathan was talking about them with Georgetown. Seton Hall favored by 13 points. The money line is prohibitive, but they should beat Georgetown. Let's face it, Georgetown 0-17 in the Big East. I like Iowa State at home over Oklahoma State. The Cyclones, according to Lenardi, they're in the field. Oklahoma State, not so much. Look for that to pan out there. Alabama at home against Texas A&M, and we talked about the Aggies as being one of those teams that fell off a cliff the second half of the season. I look for the Crimson Tide to take care of business. And we talked about Fordham the other day. Had them in the four for the money bracket.
Right.
And they beat UMass by 12 up there in
Amherst.
New York.
Yeah.
No, they beat them at home.
Oh, okay.
This
So
one's
at the
in
Bronx.
Amherst.
They were at the Bronx.
Yeah, this one's in Amherst. I expect them to beat UMass again, especially after the announcement that Matt McCall was fired. These NBA games are why I talked about. I didn't put them further up the list. Obviously, Utah over Houston. Houston playing the second game of a back-to-back. They get outscored by about 17 points a game in those situations. Utah should beat the crap out of them. Phoenix over Portland. Phoenix will win the game. I don't trust them necessarily to cover 13.5, but that's why I put the money line up, because if somebody's crazy enough to chase 1,100 to win $100, more power to them. Denver and Oklahoma City, obviously, the Thunder are bad. Denver is playing good basketball right now, much to my chagrin, because I'd rather see them lose a few games here and there and fall back in the Northwest Division. Meanwhile, you won't see Lou Dort or Josh Giddey or Ty Jerome or Mike Muscala or Jeremiah Robinson-Earl or Russell Westbrook or Aaron Wiggins or Kevin Durant or Kendrick Williams or James Harden for the Thunder tonight. Basically, it's a bunch of nobodies. I look for the Sabres at least to go over 6.5. I know we had that conversation the other day with Allie when she thought and wondered why Vancouver's line didn't move and the Washington-Toronto line didn't move. They both went over. I'm looking for them going here as well. Nashville, Seattle, I like to go over 5.5 because Seattle's goaltending is awful. And in the game we didn't talk about in hockey, the Blues and the Rangers, I look to stay under 5.5. Shesterkin in net for the Rangers. It's supposed to be Ville Husso for the Blues. I look for a low-scoring game there at Madison Square Garden. If you asked me to pick a side, I'd probably lean towards the Rangers. I just think it'll, New York plays well at home.
Right.
And it's tough to beat them there.
At the Garden. Hey, while you're here, folks, be sure to hit that button, subscribe, hit the bell, and that way you're going to get notifications every time we're on the air, okay? So we want you to do that. And we ask for very little. We try to give you a lot. So please go out there and do that for us. Also, if you, for some reason, cannot be here with us at 1:30 every day, just subscribe to the podcast, which all the information is in the show box below, but our podcasts are on Apple in the Apple Store as well as Google Play. Also, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, and, of course, over there on iHeartRadio. So, anywhere you get your podcast, you can get us, and that way you get to hang with us even when you can't make it at 1:30. So, there you go from that standpoint. Any final questions? By the way, at 3 o'clock, we got Back to the Window with Scott and Scott right here, coming up on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network.
Yeah, people are asking about LSU, Arkansas. That game's coming to you, of course, from the Bud Walton Arena out there in Fayetteville. The line's down to 5.5, I believe it is now. If I was going straight up, I'd probably go Arkansas. I don't know what to make of the Razorbacks or LSU, because LSU started the year on fire, and then they kind of fell apart. They were 12-0. They were 12-0. They were 8-9 since. They're coming off a win over Missouri. Arkansas won in Baton Rouge, 65-58 back in January. But LSU is good defensively, and they can make life tough for JT Notte and company. Like I said, straight up, I would go Arkansas without an issue. With the points, I don't know, because it could be a close game. I know Ken Palm's got it factored in. It was about a 3-point margin. Bartovic has it, I think, at 4. 5.5 might be a little rich.
There you go.
And James said, frickin' Robert Morris. Yeah, Rachel will probably be all excited about Robert Morris if you guys go over and watch the show, because he bet $10 on Robert Morris to win the Horizon League tournament and plus, 8 zillion or whatever. So, I'm sure he's excited that, they won for another day.
There you go.
Of course, they'll come back to earth when they play Cleveland State, barring Cleveland State, not pulling off the Ohio triumvirate of sucking when a game's on the line.
You don't need a trifecta from Ohio in that one.
We're not going to talk about Cleveland State tomorrow, so don't ask, because the last 2 Ohio teams, well, I guess 3 if you count Ohio State, but I didn't have them
Thank goodness.
In a favorable situation. But the last 2 that I took from Ohio screwed up our 6-teamers, so
there you go.
We're going to stay away from Ohio teams.
Yep, I think that's wise. All right, everybody. We hope that you had a lot of fun today. We always do. And be sure to join us tomorrow, 1:30. You can follow us on social media. Our handles are right there. Check the show box. If you can't read, hit more. It says show more. When you hit show more, it drops down, and all that wonderful, cool stuff from BetMGM's there. The stuff on Chris's Parlays are there. All the things that you need to know about the show, everything is in that show box below. And that, of course, is for those of you who are with us here on YouTube, those of you who will listen to any of our podcasts, and those of you on Facebook. All of that has a show box, and we're there. So by all means, use it. It's there. It's there for you. Okay? All right, cool. So, any final words, Christopher, before we get out here on a Wednesday?
No, I think we covered everything that I can think
got
of.
it.
I mean, you got some, boring major conference games that nobody wants to talk about because, you got Rutgers, Indiana. That'll be interesting to see what pans out. I'm more interested in seeing how some of these early conference tournaments turn out. Wagner has struggled a little bit since Ford went down. They've gone just 3-3. Are they going to cover tonight against St. Francis? Favored by double digits. Hard to say. Middle Tennessee's been on a roll. I want to see how they do on the road at Charlotte. They've locked up the Conference USA East Division title. I know everybody likes to talk about major conferences, but as you found, if you've watched this for more than 5 minutes, we don't necessarily talk about those. I like Western Kentucky tonight, too. That should be a good game against Marshall. But whatever you do, enjoy what you're doing. Don't get so caught up in it where, you put your fist or a shoe or something through your TV because some bozo hit a 3 at the buzzer and screwed over your bet or whatever. Just have fun. You don't have to bet everything. And like Jim said, if you do it responsibly.
Thanks.
The last thing we want to find out is that, somebody bet their house and lost or something like that, because that's not what this is about.
This is to have fun, and not if you try to make a living out of it, that's a difficult situation, and you need some serious help, and that's what we're here for. It's to help you, but not to help you get to the poorhouse. To help you win and to be responsible.
If you want to get to the poorhouse, just give me all your money, and then you'll be fine.
There you go. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining us. Remember, Scott and Scott coming up in a little less than 10 minutes right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network from my buddy Chris King. I'm Jim Williams saying we will see you tomorrow. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Edit during the closing credits.
Yep.
Do we have anybody lined up for Friday or no?
Well, we got 2 people. We have Allison from. Hang on one sec.